Louis. A local man does some digging into his family history, and now if he gets his way, a hometown star will be reborn. We look back on the great debate over film censorship in St. Louis. Too much sex, too much violence, people said. And that's even by our standards. And a look at a company that helped provide the sound in the days of silent movies. Theater organs, church organs, they still build them to order in a little town in Illinois. That's all next on Living St. Louis. Our first story tonight might be entitled Gone, but not quite forgotten. It's the story about a St. Louis man who was, at one point, pretty famous, and now pretty much faded from memory. So much so that even his own relative didn't know much about him until he started digging into the family history. And now, as Anne-Marie Berger tells us, he'd like us all to know. He'd like us all to remember.
I found out that he didn't have a gravesite. Didn't have a tombstone. I found it where he was buried, but so that just kind of made me feel bad that he wasn't even recognized in death. So I just thought, you know, I need to follow up on it and try to bring some light to his career.
Don McDaniel is talking about his great-great-uncle on his father's side, Edwin August. Ever heard of him? Well, if not, you're not the only one. But if McDaniel has anything to say about it, Edwin August will have his very own star on our town's Walk of Fame. So who is this Edwin August, and why does he deserve a star? Well, McDaniel has a pretty good argument, because August was a star, a movie star, and a pioneer in the film industry. Edwin was born Edwin August Butts in St. Louis in 1883. He acted in his first play when he was just 7 years old, and after graduating from CBC, he performed with theater companies in St. Louis, New York, LA, and Chicago. In the early part of the 20th century, a new entertainment medium was becoming popular: film. It wasn't lavish, but for the time, it was groundbreaking. And Edwin August left the stage to give it a try.
He was in New York, and he met someone, a friend of his, and he said, "Why don't you give this a try?" It was fairly new technology. And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And his first experience was kind of, I guess, kind of threw him for a loop. He said he'd never do it again because it was out in public. It was on Wall Street. And so all the people around were kind of heckling and...
Oh, so literally on the street?
Yeah, it was in New York on Wall Street. And I have several articles that he tells of that story. And he just, "I'll never do it again."
But August did do it again, and again, and again. Due to the lack of early film preservation, the records aren't clear, but we do know that he acted in between 250 and 400 films. Like I said, films weren't highly technical by today's standards. Back in the day, movies were called flickers, and typically they were just a single reel, 8 to 12 minutes long. A script was called a scenario that often someone jotted down on paper in the morning, and filming began that afternoon. And dialogue? Forget about it. No one would hear it anyway. This was the hardest adjustment for August, having to act without a voice.
He said something about not being able to use his voice and modulating and to provide kind of emotion. But I think as an actor, they were told to say the words, so I think it helped him to do the part on stage, or on the sound stage. But some of his roles on film, you can tell he's a little bit demonstrative and more overacting, which is something more have to do on stage to be bigger, and so I think he had to tone that down a little bit later in some of his other films.
Literally, you can't hear him.
Right, definitely.
Finding out more about the life of Edwin August has become a passion for McDaniel. He's created a website highlighting his career and has spent countless hours locating articles, photographs, and the rare coup, his uncle's films.
Mary Pickford and Me. Can't remember the title. He couldn't. He was in so many movies, he couldn't remember the movie.
I have three of his silent. I found one of his talking films. He was with Milton Berle. It was a courtroom scene. He was like the bailiff, but he did have talking scenes.
But I can't prove it.
On that telephone number, Your Honor, it's a Chinese laundry. They never heard of Martley.
Thank you very much. Mr. Caudry, I'm afraid that... I got it. I know who did it. What a dope. Give me that number. Mr. Caudry. I need a phone. A dial phone. Where's there a phone?
Right over there.
His parts may not have been as big in talking films, but he was in them. He worked alongside Jimmy Stewart in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
How am I doing?
That's definitely I would love to find more lobby cards or movie posters or anything that relates to his career.
Edwin August never married, though he joked he had married Mary Pickford 100 times in the movies. He died in 1964 at the age of 80, and though he lived a public life on a public stage, he died poor in anonymity at a hospital in California. He is buried in an unmarked grave. Because of what Edwin August did in his life and his contribution to the development of motion pictures, he still connects with his family today.
Well, where do you hope this goes? What do you hope to achieve by?
Well, obviously the biggest goal is the Walk of Fame here in St. Louis. Well, I'd love to have his gravesite marked. I mean, a big goal would be Hollywood Walk of Fame, but small steps. I'd like to do this first here in St. Louis. But I just think he was just kind of a witness to kind of the evolution of film and the entertainment industry,
And a participant.
And a participant, right? I mean, he was acted, wrote, directed, and was on film.